Órale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. I'm your host, Jorge Martin and Familia. We got ourselves a live broadcast. We're on YouTube. Please make sure to give us a like and subscribe. Por favor, we'd really appreciate it. And make sure you're going to familiaffb.com for our original content. And as always, we are a proud member of the Fantasy Points Media Group. Please make sure to go, if you're going to fantasypoints.com, put in your promo code Familia22, Familia22 if you're doing it in Spanish, and then get 10% off discount. So Familia, we got a fun one tonight. Because let me tell you something. When I put out the APB, it's a group of friends that I've been networking with for a while. These two guys have been champions of Familia FFB, champions. We've been champions of one another for about a year now.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, just they've become good friends, awesome fantasy minds, and compadres all through and through. So I'm going to start off on, I think, the far right, my left, or however we're doing this. So el hombre. So you guys, he started this whole analyst thing about the same time I did, and he's literally dived into this whole fantasy football analysis thing. Yes, he knows exactly what I did.
It took me a second, but I'm with you now. I got you.
Yeah.
Have those shoes dried off yet, Joey?
Worn the same pair of shoes for every episode, actually.
Gotta love it. So
that didn't answer the question though. Are they still wet, or are they actually dry? Okay.
Awesome. It's Florida, so it dries off quickly. But no, he's been doing this writing thing for Razzball, and more recently, probably about in the last 6 months, joined Front Yard Fantasy, where he founded one of the most hilarious video series in the fan, and actually anywhere. If you're a football fan, it doesn't even have to be a fantasy football fan. If you have enjoyed Start, Sits, and Salutations and not have the belly laugh, you are not breathing. So in Spanish, I want to say, oh, hi means hola. So he's a fellow girl dad and is such a movie buff that after watching the entire Bad News Bears series, he wanted Walter Matthau to coach him in Little League. So bienvenido to the one and only Joey Wright. ¿Cómo estamos, mi amigo?
How are we doing tonight? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's awesome. Well, he's hitting cleanup tonight, even though he's batting third. So how in baseball you put you put your top hitter in the 3 hole. So coming in, Jay Felicio, aka G-Man J. He is a content creator, a content manager for Front Yard Fantasy. So it's a front yard, la frente kind of night. And thankfully he occasionally joins the crew either on camera or in the chat during some of those fantasy games. I've had a lot of blast being on there a couple times. So love it. So he may be in the Carolinas. So he's repping the Blue Devils.
Repping my dude.
But he bleeds another type of blue, giant blue through and through. So he's a fellow dad and has even named a pair of goldfish after Eli Manning and Mario Manningham. So bienvenido, Jay Felicio. ¿Cómo estamos, mi friend?
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. And you know what? I really like that idea. Now I feel like I have to go out to pick out some fish. And, I have 2 kids, so get one of them each and name one Eli and one Manningham. I love that idea. But to be on with Joey and to be on with you, 2 of my favorite people in this community, I absolutely love it. And I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me.
Jay and I rarely get to be on camera together. I don't know why they're keeping us apart on Front Yard Fantasy.
Because they know it's too good. They know
it's magic, and we would just take over. So.
Right, exactly.
And as I see, a couple of our bosses are in the chat right now.
So. This is awesome. Let's get some hellos in here. Anthony, muchas gracias. Thank you. Hola, look at that.
Hola.
Ay. Oh, Ryan Crawford. Hola. Let me see. Where are you? There you go. Ryan Crawford. Muchas gracias. Anthony, new subscriber. Thank you. We got a lot of fun content saved. I've been trying to have this off-season series, trying to be as evergreen as possible. Got some draft coverage in there. Just finished over the weekend. Did a great episode with Dr. Edwin Porras, talking about injuries with all those late season ACL injuries that we had out there. So talking, and like I said, we had some draft, but today we're going to be looking ahead a little bit. Wait a second. Mi amigo Simon Simon is in the house.
Get him on.
Simon. FYF Simon. Thank you. Bienvenido. The chat is live tonight. Chat is live. Oh man. So
Brian's
yes.
a good friend of mine from high school, so he's
Hey,
gonna give me a lot of crap. Yeah.
Oh, love it. I'm gonna make sure I'm in here. And also, so we got he's Philly. Jay is Giants. So there's gonna be a lot of chatter tonight.
We go back and forth a lot.
Too bad we're not talking about either one of any NFC East quarterbacks today.
Not much to talk about. So at least for the Giants.
No.
Oh, my brothers. Well, this is awesome. I can't thank you guys enough for doing this. And we've been through basically in the last week and a half. We've been through the ringer in the NFL,
Crazy.
the fantasy industry, un loco free agency season. So okay, first off, the big news today. I'm walking my dog, and all of a sudden I get a news alert. Tyreek Hill. So it's early morning walk out here on the West Coast. Tyreek Hill just got traded to the Miami Dolphins. I was like, what? So guys, I have to hear your thoughts, and I'd love to hear kind of like fantasy take on what you've got to where this is going to end up. So yeah, Jay, actually start us up.
So yeah, just to start, I am actually a parent. I don't have any goldfish. I've got 2 children, a 5-year-old beautiful daughter and a 3-year-old maniac son. So he's going through those terrible threes. But yes, I do actually have kids. I will say, Simon, you're too kind. I was actually, when this news broke, I was on the phone with Simon. I was on the road, so I gave Simon a call. We were talking about some stuff. And the news broke, and honestly, I wasn't sure. Like, other than this offseason, you see all the time, contract negotiations. They're talking, they request the agent allowed to request trade, look at trade, stuff like that. I didn't think this was going to turn into anything. I really didn't. I thought it was just contract negotiations. They're putting it out there so they could, put the Chiefs against the wall and try to get some more money. But everybody's kind of panicking, and while I don't think it's necessarily a good thing for Tyreek Hill's value, it's not necessarily that bad either. I think he goes from, at least like in a redraft perspective, like the top 5 guy who, is always a threat to be the wide receiver 1 overall, more towards the back end. I still think he's going to be a wide receiver 1, but in that offense, I like Tua more than most, but I mean, I don't think anybody's going to confuse Tua with Patrick Mahomes. So it's definitely a downgrade in the offense. I do like Mike McDaniel. I think he's going to, use him very creatively. I don't think it's just going to be putting him in the Debo role because they're 2, completely different players. But I still think I still think Tyreek's going to be fine. I think it's the value of Waddle is going to be perfectly fine. I think there's going to be plenty to go around there. Tua, I think you bump him up, but honestly, again, like, he doesn't have that top 5, top 10 upside. I think he went from a back end quarterback 2 to more of a high end quarterback 2, where he's going to have some blow up games, especially with those weapons.
Yeah, on a super flex side. Joey, I mean, you're in Florida. I mean, you're a little north of South Florida, but how has it been blowing up on your side, on your neck of the woods?
So my best friend is a Dolphins fan, and he was really excited. He was sending me memes all day. So, but yeah, I mean, Tyreek, guy's my wide receiver 2. And I mean, I had to drop him down because he doesn't have Mahomes throwing him the ball. And I mean, but it wasn't a big drop. It was a wide receiver 10. So not like a death wish by any means, still a top 10 receiver. It made me sad for Waddle. I was really, really high on Waddle. I had him as a wide receiver 1, not the 1, but a wide receiver 1. He's my wide receiver 12, and I dropped him down to wide receiver 20. But saying that I had the wide receiver 10 and the wide receiver 20 connected to one quarterback, I moved Tua up 6 spots. He's my QB 16 now. I really like Tua this year. I like the weapons he has. I think Gesicki's still going to be involved in the offense. So it made me really excited, and they just loaded up the offensive line too. Things are looking up for the Dolphins, and there's a lot of buzz too here in Florida, and not just from my best friend who should be watching me, honestly. let's go, man.
And also shout out to amigos of the show, Troy King, who's probably his feet probably still have not touched the ground since then. So
there was a video of Troy's reaction, but I don't think we can say what he said on air. So.
Well, I mean, hopefully it was better than the reaction shot on the video on his cameo appearance on Start Sits and Salutations. So I think it's a little bit different than that. So
yeah,
that is one of the great memes out there.
He still will not, like, we shop at the same grocery store. I see him like 3 times a week, and I still get the same look every single time. And I don't know what's wrong with the guy. So,
oh, Troy, oh man. Oh, okay. So we got some other people. Please call me Antonio.
Hey, Albert.
Yes, Albert. ¿Cómo estás? Thank you.
He's one of the FYF faithful right there. He's always in the chat.
Every day he's in there with us playing games. He's hanging out in the chat with me and Joey. So.
Love it. Love it. I've seen him. He's jumped in a couple times in here. So Albert, bienvenidos. Alberto, as we could call you tonight, since we're making everybody ethnicized. So
there we go.
We could at some point we could call Joey Jose. So
and then is Jay Yay? Would that be him?
Yay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yay.
My full name's Jason. So not many people.
Hey, son.
Yes.
Yeah. Can he throw it deep enough for? Hey, you know what? He had some fast guys at Alabama, so I think I think this is a kind of a put up or shut up time for Tua this year. I think I really like the idea of bumping him up a little bit, definitely solidly into the top half of the second, kind of like the second tier quarterbacks in super flex leagues. Tyreek coming in, being he's a guy who almost got 10 targets a game last year, just a shade under that. And the crazy thing was that, I mean, he had 5 blow up games where he's top 5 wide receiver. And then he had 8 weeks where he wasn't even wide receiver 40, which is, it's kind of crazy. I wonder if there's going to be a lot of that in Florida, but you got to figure they didn't get him. They didn't pay him all that money to not get him the ball 10 times. I think it starts with him and definitely Waddle. I mean, Waddle was so good there at the end. He, through the fantasy playoffs, he was so good. And just quick FYI, I checked expert consensus rankings. He's number 7 right now, Tyreek, and he's number 22 pick overall. So he's going there latter part of the second round. So, oh man. So, mis amigos, there was a bombshell today, but in the last 9 days there have been other ones. Do you guys have a favorite one that really set you off? I started with Jay last time. Joey, do you have one that really got you?
The thing that really got me was kind of a ripple effect one. And it ended when Robert Woods went to the Titans. I was really, really excited for him to go to the Titans because before that, Allen Robinson had come over and it was starting to look really crowded. So with Robert Woods going to the Titans now, hopefully he gets back from his injury and has a good season there for him. But I think that Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Robert Woods, and Odell Beckham could all be great receiving options on draft day for where you're going to get them. I moved Cooper Kupp back up. I, probably overreacted a little bit, moved him down to, it was like wide receiver 6. He's back up to, wide receiver 2 right now for me. But yeah, I'm excited for, the Rams receivers plus, Woods in Tennessee.
What are you saying? You have him. You have Kupp number 2. Is who do you have number 1? Devon?
Jamar Chase. Actually, I really love Jamar Chase this year.
Hey, you know what? Friends of the show, I did a 0 RB episode a couple weeks ago with Cal and Dan, our 0 RB zealots, and I believe it was. Yeah, I believe it was Cal said that Jamar Chase was his number 1 for this year. So
there's going to be a hive of us and we're going to be loud. And when it doesn't happen, we're going to be really, really quiet. So
I hope so. I have a lot of Joe Burrow, so I'd be perfectly fine with that.
So. Man, Jay. Oh, Jay, how about you? Is there a move that really?
So the Devontae Adams trade to Las Vegas, and not necessarily for him. But Aaron Jones, when Devontae Adams wasn't in the lineup, he was getting a lot more targets. I've kind of had an up and down relationship with Aaron Jones. I didn't necessarily believe at first, but I mean, the numbers that this guy's put up over the years, it's undeniable. And I don't have him in front of me, but I know his targets go up by at least 4 or 5. Yeah, Ryan's a Packers fan, so I may or may not have mentioned that just to rub some salt in the wound for him. But the targets go way up. And there has been a little bit of a changing in the guard when it comes to A.J. Dillon. I think towards the end of last season, he started to take over that backfield, but I was looking to get rid of Aaron Jones going into this season, but unless, they make a huge splash to trade for, this offseason, it's nuts. You can't rule anything out. It's like, I don't remember who said it, but I saw it on Twitter. Somebody said all the people who grew up playing dynasty football are now getting into the GM roles for the NFL and are just making dynasty trades. And that's exactly what it feels like. But I really think that he is set up, as long as they don't make a big splash at wide receiver. Aaron Jones is set up to have another fantastic year with the additional targets that he's going to get with Devontae Adams being traded to Las Vegas.
Yeah, especially because like when you get Robert Tonyan coming off of his own ACL injury, so maybe he's not going to get those underneath targets. Aaron Jones is, I mean, he's a master at those, and he's fantastic. And they are going to rely on the running backs, him and AJ Dillon, a lot. And I guess to preserve him a little bit more, get him the ball out in space. So, what's funny, yesterday when I was formulating this question, I had Juju on there just because I thought he was going to set up Tyreek Hill. And now it's like, I don't think he's gonna. I actually think that losing Hill is actually worse for him, because I think he's going to get a lot more attention from defenses. I wish they'd get an alpha, but because he's going to be running a lot of similar routes to Travis Kelce. But
I completely agree. We saw it in Pittsburgh when Antonio Brown left. Everybody, Juju was, top 10 consensus, wide receiver in dynasty leagues. Everybody was all over him, and he could. Some guys aren't made to be that alpha. It's not saying that he's, a bad wide receiver by any means, but that's just not his role. So honestly, right now, I'd be looking to sell high on Juju. Absolutely. What you can get, what people think that he's going to be the Tyreek Hill in this offense, he's a completely different player. It's never going to be that.
I do think it raises floor. His ceiling is now capped big time, but I do think it raises floor. Like, he's going to get more work, but what he could have been with Hill there too would have been amazing. Have they signed MVS yet? I keep hearing that it's like,
no, there's rumors of that, but there's talks that they could trade for, you guys know the love of my life, Laviska Shenault. They said, I've heard some rumors of Brandon Cooks. So
do they need a new water boy, or like what's going on?
I think they're going to add somebody.
Give Visca another chance. Let's go.
I'd love to see Visca get a chance. I have
with somebody other than Urban Meyer.
Yes, sí, por favor. Sí, por favor. And though our amigo Antonio, Mecole Hardman to the moon. I do wonder if there's gonna. I don't think he's gonna be the guy. I mean, I think he had 83 targets last year, and that's his career high. I don't think he jumps to being a guy who gets 8-10 targets. I mean, definitely going to be a deep threat for Mr. Mahomes and Senor Patrick, but I don't know.
Mecole Hardman is outside looking at the moon. I don't think he's to the moon. I think that's about as far as he's going to make it. I think he is what he is. I mean, I think he'll be fine, but he's not.
Chiefs brought in another receiver yesterday, and this news is kind of overshadowed. I forget who it was though.
They signed a.
Pringle's gone, and then someone else came in. Someone in the chat's going to nail it for us.
Let me see.
Yeah, Demarcus Robinson too is gone as well, right? Didn't he? Pringle went with
Demarcus Robinson.
The Bears, I believe. Pringle went, and I don't remember where I saw Demarcus Robinson.
Pringle went to the Bears.
Yeah, he did. Let's see, Jay. It's not Hardman season, so I love this chat. Thank you guys, and muchas gracias for joining us. This is awesome. This is
the Raiders is where Demarcus Robinson signed too. So
that's right.
Which I'm upset about the Devontae Adams going to the Raiders, simply because I love having Derek Carr as a QB2 in Superflex. He's always so underrated, and that's not going to be the case this year with Devontae Adams. People are going to be all over him, so that's gone. That's out the window.
Oh, it is going to be crazy times with him, and I think he tops out at like maybe QB 10. I mean, he could have a big season, but I mean, unless he's hitting Devontae with those touchdowns that he doesn't seem to throw too often, it's not going to be easy. But I to me, the football fan, I used to, when the Rams were away, I rooted for the Packers, and I still enjoy watching Aaron Rodgers be fantastic. There was just something different about him and Devontae Adams that the football fan in me is going to miss. So
Yeah,
It was special.
And they saw
sure.
when Rodgers missed a game this season. I don't know if you saw all the pictures before every game. It was Randall Cobb, Aaron Rodgers, and Devontae Adams all standing together. And then when he missed a game with COVID,
yes,
Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb left a space in between them, as kind of like signaling, like, you're still here with us. So like the relationship that he had with those guys, like it's that's one thing I am going to miss, because like you said, to see them play on the field together, they had a brotherhood, but he wanted to go back and play with his college quarterback.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, speaking of quarterbacks, it was the theme for tonight is year 2, sophomore season. So, by the way, I'm looking. Oh, Corey Coleman. That's who the Chiefs signed.
Yeah.
Formerly,
I knew it was
Giants.
someone big.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no wonder you couldn't remember.
Yeah. I was feeding some birds. Yeah.
So we're talking about the year 2 quarterback, and kind of with the idea of taking a break from NFL draft season, where hint, if you guys haven't heard it before, we're breaking news here. This is not expected to be a big, great class for quarterbacks. So you heard it here first. But when it comes down to it, it's year 2 seems to be the time when quarterbacks kind of blow up, and that they take their greatest strides. And I always use the examples of 2 all-time greats, John Elway and Peyton Manning. Granted, this was 100 years ago when they were rookies, but both of them struggled that rookie year. Elway even got benched. Some people call him the greatest arm of all time, but both of them struggled as rookies, and then it was the second year they came up. Dan Marino, probably his greatest year of all time, his second year in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes sat his rookie year, second year. So it's kind of that theme. And, we had that class last year that was so ballyhooed. You had Trevor Lawrence, who on our show, my primos and I love to call him Fabio Football. He didn't live up. He didn't live up to being that greatest prospect since Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, those guys. Zach Wilson, he was supposed to be not just a teen idol, but he was supposed to come in and be a stud. All those comparisons to Aaron Rodgers. Justin Fields left all of Bear Nation just agape and just so excited thinking about what was coming. And really, it was just Mac Jones doing well, but didn't really. Not from a fantasy standpoint. Very few people started him. So, I kind of took a look at last year's year 2 class. You had Justin Herbert, who probably ruined a lot of rookie quarterbacks because the expectation level was so high. He was QB3. Joe Burrow took him to the Super Bowl, QB8, some blow up weeks. Tua, up and down season, battled injuries, finished QB26. Now the expectation, the heat's been turned up. Jalen Hurts, he was mentioned a little bit in the chat. He ended up QB9 and ended up even though he was in, way up there a little bit. So we've seen some precedent, and now we've got this class coming up, and it's kind of like, who's ready to make the jump? And I want to start with Trevor Lawrence. And Jay, he went to college a little south of you, in Clemson.
Not too far. Yeah.
Yeah. So he finished the QB 22 last year and really struggled. His highest finish the entire season was QB 10. I mean, what are your kind of impressions? Did you see anything that could get you excited for this season?
So normally you can't take a season for a player, especially a rookie, and just throw it out. But as historically bad as Urban Meyer was, like all the stories that are coming out now, like the best thing, Joey will appreciate this, the best thing Urban Meyer did was appear on AEW and hand some footballs off to was he the one that was throwing the footballs to Chris Jericho, or was
he handed a laptop to Chris Jericho
to
smash over MJF's head?
That's the best thing that he did in his 10 years.
And even that handoff wasn't very good.
Right,
Sorry.
Right. So it's just I honestly feel like you can take last season and just completely throw it out. Granted, he struggled, but there was definitely towards the end of the season, he started to show some flashes. The stats may not show it, but if you watch the games, you saw why people considered him the best prospect since Andrew Luck. I'm still very high on him. Granted, even though, they spent a lot of money and they made Christian Kirk one of the highest paid wide receivers in the NFL. I don't necessarily get that. I would have loved to see them make that trade for Amari Cooper. Put a guy like him with Trevor Lawrence. I do still think he's got that sky high upside to be, one of the perennial top 5 QBs, potential QB1 down the road. I like having the Doug Peterson hiring as head coach. Carson Wentz had his best season under Doug Peterson. He's a great offensive mind. I mean, he won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. So if you can do that, you can do anything. So I really like it. I'm still in. I'm still 100% in it. If somebody's ready to get rid of him, I think he's somebody that I would be looking to acquire on the cheap in dynasty leagues.
Joey, before we get to you, we just got to give a shout out to Mr. Scampers coming over from, muchas gracias for joining us.
This is our favorite chat cat.
Oh my goodness.
I love Mr. Scampers. Oh,
he always gets the answers before anybody else. He always. Jeez. I mean, I kicked butt on the last time and he was still all over me. So
Brady's in here too. Hey Brady, how you doing?
Brady and Dame. Love you guys.
That. Dame overboard. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Thank you everybody for joining the chat. Joey.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to Trevor Lawrence, I mean, obviously, again, you're in Florida. You got to see a lot of those games when when the Bucks or the Dolphins weren't on. I mean, there was definite struggles, but there, as Jay said, there's still so much there. Plus the rushing upside. What did you see that maybe encouraged you or didn't or discouraged you?
So I'm in a house divided. My wife, I'm a Bucks fan. I have been since birth. I can go in that story later. But my wife is a Jaguars fan. She really is. And so, because they're in the AFC, I like the Jaguars too.
So that's why she married you, because she's used to disappointment.
Yes, exactly. This is exactly it. And she liked big sombreros. So I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that one. So yeah, I think Lawrence, I do think a lot of that's tied to Urban Meyer. And he didn't have what people were expecting to be his right-hand man last year with Travis Etienne missing the season. And I think with Etienne back next year, that comfort that he had with him, I can't wait to see them on the field together. There's a lot of things to like about Lawrence next year. In dynasty leagues, I've been in a bunch of dynasty startup drafts lately because people are just crazy. And hi, Jeff Bell. And
I was about to say,
so many invites from him. Love him so much. But I see Lance and Fields going in the first 2 rounds in these Superflex drafts every single time. And Lawrence is going in the late 3rd, 4th, even the 5th. I've seen him go. And listen, if I miss on Fields and Lance, which I do have above Lawrence, I'm happy to wait 2 rounds and get Lawrence in Superflex dynasty leagues. So yeah, I like Lawrence next year. I want to see what happens with him. And you brought up Peyton Manning, and I'm glad you did, because that's what that first season did kind of remind me of. It's something that could be looked back as, it was just like Manning's first season, because the talent for him is absolutely there.
Oh, big time. And Mr. Scampers, thank you for subscribing. Oh, muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, everybody. Yeah, please make sure to give us a thumbs up. Give us the thumbs up. Muchas gracias.
And like to your point too, Joey, about people drafting Justin Fields and Lance that high, you're drafting those guys at their ceiling. Like, you have no room for error. They have to be what everybody thinks they're going to be to return value there. When you're getting Trevor Lawrence that late, he doesn't have to necessarily be what everybody thinks he's going to be. He just has to be solid, and you're getting good value there. So I'm with you 100% there. I'd pass on those two in the late 2nd or early 1st all day to take Trevor Lawrence, in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
Absolutely.
And I think if there's one guy who's gonna take that major stride forward, it's gonna be him, because of the fact that he got picked number 1 for a reason. He had every tool in the shed. And so, and plus he's got, he's got legs and he can run. So he's going to give you that Konami code. I look at that. I don't love all of the free agent wide receiver moves, but the thing is, I kind of like the quantity. At the least, there's gonna have so many guys. Plus, Joey, you mentioned Travis Etienne. Both of you talked about the Travis Etienne. I look at that and I'm just like, I like the chances. Plus, Doug Peterson, he has grown up quarterbacks before. Help with them. So I don't buy into the kind of the exit at Philly. I buy in more that I think he had a lot to do with Carson Wentz becoming an MVP candidate. I look at him and one of the things that somebody pointed out, I think it might have been JJ Zacharyson, saying that when he was in Philly, they were always among the most teams with the most plays, kind of the quickest teams to. And so that to me, it's a guy who threw 600 times last year. I'll take that opportunity and he'll run it 75 times. Give me that chance. I'll take that chance all day long.
And then you brought up,
Go ahead.
Oh, you brought up Peterson, and one thing that Peterson was known for is using his tight ends. And the Jags have two good tight ends. They got Dan Arnold, and they've just got Evan Ingram.
Sorry, did you say good tight end and Evan Ingram in the same sentence?
No, like
I really like the signing. I still like Evan Ingram. I was going to bring up that point too. So Joey, you're reading my mind right now. I think. Yeah.
So when Evan Ingram was on the field, healthy, performing, he can give you good weeks. And now he's with a coach and a quarterback that can utilize him well. No offense, Daniel Jones and Eli Manning, but sorry, Jay. We had a good thing going. I'm sorry.
I started it with the jab about the disappointment of the Jaguars, so I'll accept it.
Oh man, well, disappointment I think would be an understatement for New York Jets fans when it came to what they were expecting from. Oh, wait a second. Also, yes, Mr. Scampers. Don't forget James O'Shaughnessy. We just had St. Patrick's Day a few days ago, so let's remember. And thank you, Jay. Muchas gracias.
Where are my thumbs at tonight? There they are.
Yeah,
thumbs up. Okay.
So Zach Wilson, he finished the QB 30 last year, and maybe the expectations are too tough. I mean, obviously, when you go into New York, it's difficult. But he didn't throw for 300 yards last year, but he had a lot of things going against him. I mean, one of the big things happened before the season, which he had no control over. Greg Knapp, he was the renowned quarterback guru for young quarterbacks, and he died in a tragic biking accident where he was hit by a car just before training camp. And so you got to figure that played a part. Zach Wilson, he didn't have any 300-yard games, but toward the end of the season, they brought in John Beck, his private coach, on the staff in New York, and he started to show some glimpses. Joey, were those glimpses enough to get you a little excited for him this season?
Heading out of the season, I was actually a little excited about Wilson, and then they lost Jamison Crowder, and I got a little less excited. But Wilson is one of the quarterbacks that the type of quarterback I like to target. Something I was pumping pretty hard last year was the quarterback tandem strategy of if you miss on these big guys that we know are going to produce, because quarterback is really deep. Last season was the first year that half of the top 10 quarterbacks didn't come from outside the top 12. Usually, you'll find someone in the 10th, 11th round. So what I like to do is grab like a Kirk Cousins and pair somebody like Wilson with them and just see, because you can get Wilson right now, end of a redraft, most likely, if you want to try that tandem out. And then if Cousins gets hurt, you have someone there that can fill in need be. So, but as far as Wilson heading into next year, I'm not too excited about him. I would love to see the Jets add someone else other than to pair with Elijah Moore and Denzel Mims.
Yeah. Oh, Mims. It just there were some things I liked about him early on, and just
you said it perfect. Just that says it all about Denzel.
So you get so Jay, this is the other team in New York. Kind of the redheaded
little brother
compared to the Giants.
Yeah.
They actually play in New Jersey, but
don't start with that.
Oh man.
Oh,
So
we're having fun.
when it comes to the Jets, I mean, he had some injuries. Could he be looking at kind of some more growing pains this year, or
So I've watched a decent amount of Zach Wilson, and I saw a few good plays, but honestly, he looked in over his head every time that I watched him. That being said, it's the Jets. They were a mess. They had to, they're still recovering from Adam Gase. Teams don't recover from that sort of inept leadership in 1 year. So, I like what they've done this offseason. They were in on the Tyreek Hill sweepstakes. They shored up their offensive line. I do think that losing Jamison Crowder is going to hurt as that security valve, but they brought in both Uzama and Tyler Conklin. So am I sold on him making the jump? No. I do think that they're going to wind up drafting a wide receiver early, whether it's in the first round or the second round. This is a deep wide receiver class in the draft. So I kind of echo what Joey says. He's not somebody I'm necessarily targeting. I'm not expecting that big jump, but how he's being valued, where the draft capital you have to spend to get him, it's well worth taking the shot because he does have that upside. So at one QB leagues, I love what Joey said. Pair him with a underrated but stable quarterback like a Kirk Cousins, something like that. Super flex leagues, I would be perfectly fine with Zach Wilson as like my QB3, somebody who you don't really necessarily have to start, but you could get lightning in a bottle, and then you've got 3 startable quarterbacks. Trade bait, somebody goes down. If it's a keeper league, somebody that you can keep. So he's somebody who I'm not targeting, but I'm willing to take a shot on.
Yeah, I'd love to see him get another receiver. I don't think they jump for one of the big guys early on because they do have 2 top 10 picks and they need a lot of help on the line and on the defensive side of the ball. But man, I mean, there's so many receivers in this class that, maybe they get someone to complement Elijah Moore. They could just be that could be really scary. The thing about him, I don't know, maybe it was just because he's not a big guy. Zach Wilson, I'm talking about. He's not this physically imposing guy. I didn't buy the Aaron Rodgers comparisons. And so I just, that was the thing. I'm kind of like, is he going to be able to hold up physically? And obviously he had an injury. So that to me is, I think when it comes to the guys in this group that we're talking about here, I think he's on the lower half for me, as far as with which guys. And I do agree, kind of pairing him with somebody, maybe flexing him out, or maybe having him be one of those guys who's in DFS, maybe play him. Maybe he'll be a cheap quarterback if he's playing at home against a bad defense. Might be an opportunity to a kind of a buy low opportunity on that side. One guy that is getting a lot of hype, and you guys mentioned him already, Trey Lance. He played significantly in 3 games. His best game was week 17, where he threw for 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for 30 more yards. Jimmy G is still there, but it really looks like the torch is being passed to him. And Jimmy G, hasn't been traded probably because of his shoulder, but Jay, obviously the 49ers and the Giants have had their share of battles over the years. Could Trey Lance, where do you see Trey Lance as far as possibly taking another step and succeeding into that lineage of 49er quarterbacks?
So I think that he's the perfect example of a guy who is maybe not necessarily ready to be an NFL quarterback, but if he's starting, I think he's a QB1 right off the bat. If he's starting next year, I'm going to rank him in my top 12. There's no question. He didn't necessarily look good when he was on the field this year, and he had those high scoring games. 1 game over 20 points. Like you said, his final game was great as well. He had the 3 games where he got the majority of the snaps. He put up fantasy stats. So I'm all in on Trey Lance. I think as long as he's the starter. I was 100% certain that he was going to be the starter. I'm 99.9 the longer that Jimmy G is on the roster. There's always that concern that maybe, Aaron Rodgers sat for a few years. Maybe Trey Lance has to sit a few years. So I heard a rumor today that they might trade Jimmy G to the Panthers straight up for Sam Darnold, which if they're doing that, then, taking on some picks as well. But are they just going to make Sam Darnold the backup? Like, I don't
yeah.
Right. So
Wow.
I'm all in on Trey Lance. I think that he's got the skill set to be, that Konami code quarterback. Especially in this offense, he's got one of the great minds in the NFL from an offensive perspective, in Kyle Shanahan, who I don't think there's anybody that's, maybe outside of Sean McVay, out of the same tree that schemes his players for success better. So he knew he wanted Trey Lance. He wants this offense to run through him. From a fantasy perspective, give me all the Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm calling up dynasty rankings on Fantasy Pros right now, just to kind of get a look see at where Trey Lance is kind of in the atmosphere. And right now he's the QB 9, ahead of Russell Wilson, ahead of Justin Fields, ahead of Trevor Lawrence. I know there are so many things to like about him, Joey, but could that be a little too aggressive when we haven't seen him really throw that much?
Yeah, I haven't seen it from him, but these quarterbacks we're talking about tonight, of all the quarterbacks that we're going to, he has my favorite weapons. I mean, he's got Deebo Samuel, he's got Brandon Ayuk, and he's got George Kittle. And none of these other quarterbacks have that around them. So he's got a great support system. He's got a great coach. They got a great running game. Like it's hard not to see him succeed in some fashion. So I like Lance a lot. Going in next year, he's my highest ranked second-year quarterback.
Did you just say Lancelot?
I caught that too. How have we not heard that before?
I didn't mean to do it, but hey, I can say I meant to do it.
There's going to be some fantasy teams named that next year.
Lancelot. Yeah.
Yes. I love it. I mean, I remember when I was watching film of him coming out of North Dakota State, I really saw a lot of Steve McNair. Air McNair back in from the early 2000s, just so much the build and everything, the running style
was such a beast.
He was so fun to watch. One of the baddest men. R.I.P. Steve McNair. So when I looked at him, you guys pointed out, I mean, those weapons, nobody has this. Yeah. Nobody has a Deebo where he could just dump it off and Deebo goes 80 yards. George Kittle, who takes a little 5-yard and then, is a yak monster and just stiff arms 5 guys. And next thing you know, it's a 30-yard gain. So these are the guys that can really, and he's going to run. So it could be this. I think after Lawrence, this could be the biggest. This could be the guy who jumps. Where would you guys take him in a super flex league, like a super flex dynasty? Are using QB9 as the kind of like even watermark?
I would take him a little bit later than that, but not much later. I don't think QB9 is horrible. He's not going as like QB5 or anything. What are the names that are right behind him that you were looking at? I don't have that pulled up.
Russell Wilson 10, Justin Fields 11, Trevor Lawrence 12, Jalen Hurts 13, Matthew Stafford 14, Aaron Rodgers 15.
I would. So when you're playing, go ahead.
Yeah, this dynasty. So I just want to make sure.
When you're playing dynasty, I mean, there's a few different ways to look at it. I'm not taking Lance as my QB1 to anchor my super flex team if I'm doing dynasty. I would probably take Stafford before Lance, to be honest.
Yeah, Stafford and Wilson now that he's in Denver. If Wilson was in Seattle, I'd probably take the gamble on Lance still, but I have a feeling that they're going to air it out in Denver. They're finally going to let Russ cook. So, I think Wilson, Stafford, that's probably the only name out of those that I would take over Lance at this point. You can make an argument for Fields, for Lawrence. I would not take Hurts just because I don't know how long Philly's going to commit to Hurts.
Yeah.
So, I'm all about, getting the value on a player. So as much as I love Trey Lance, it's hard for me to take him that high because you're drafting him at his ceiling.
Yeah.
So it's tough to do that, but I do believe in the talent.
For me, all it takes is Chicago to get a couple weapons for me to put Fields above Lance. Like I like Fields as a player better than Lance. I just like Lance's situation so much. So much more.
Darnell Mooney's is his number one. I'm sure they'll address that, but that's kind of scary.
Let's hope they do.
But yeah, but Byron Pringle's their number 2. So.
Yeah, exactly. Do they get a number 2? Do they get a number 2 who's better than who's anywhere near Debo or Kittle? Yeah. So or I mean, is Mooney even on the same level as Ayuk? So that's 3 guys for Lance.
I'm still holding out hope for Cole Kmet. Maybe I'm just delusional.
I like Cole Kmet as well. If Jimmy Graham would finally retire, he's like
he needs to. I appreciate his contributions to the game of football, but please leave.
There's an interesting little
You can't unsee it once you see that comment.
I didn't even realize that until I saw that. It's like
Jorge and I are just arm in arm. That's all.
We're just perfect. Yeah, me something with brothers in arms. Brothers in arms, right there. Yeah. Well, the Justin Fields, and I think this is the guy we all really. I mean, he was my number 2 quarterback coming out last year. After Lawrence, I loved what I saw in the bowl games, in big games against great competition. Had a couple of games where he was good. That Monday night game against the Steelers, against that Steelers defense at Heinz Field, where he really showed up and he ran for. He threw for 291 yards. So. He was a top 10 quarterback 3 of his last 4 games. I'm worried about the sack rate. That offensive line, he was sacked league leading 11.8% of the time. And as we mentioned, Darnell Mooney. To me, the other point is it's a whole new coaching staff with a defensive minded head coach coming in, Matt Eberflus. Jay, what? Does that give you any pause on really wanting to get excited about Justin Fields?
It's tough. As you guys saw you guys were a part of the fantasy community last offseason, and man, the venom and vitriol that was spit. Trevor Lawrence versus Justin Fields. If you disagree with me, you're a terrible person. Blah blah blah. All that, everybody going at each other. I am not a huge college football fan. I'm a Duke fan, so I don't really have much to watch when it comes to college football. So I can only go based on what I've seen other people talk about when it comes to college prospects and what I see on the field when they're in the NFL. All I've heard is how great Justin Fields was in college, and what I've saw, he was great. I wasn't too impressed with what I saw on the field this past year. Now, granted, you have to take that with a grain of salt. It's his first year. It was a weird situation with Nagy, with, Andy Dalton. Like, I'm still in on Justin Fields. I'm not necessarily willing. I'm definitely not willing to pay the price that he cost. I would take Trey Lance ahead of him without hesitation because of, like we talked about, the situation. We saw Lance put up the stats. We didn't really see much of that from Justin Fields. And I am really concerned about the weapons, with Byron Pringle as your number 2, that's kind of scary, and playing. Also, look at the divisions they play in. Playing in that NFC North. The weather's going to get cold. It's going to be defensive battles. It's not going to be as high flying games as you're going to see in the NFC West. So all those things considered, and that's right around playoff time for the fantasy playoffs. When it starts to get cold in Chicago, Soldier Field, or whatever they call it these days, they've got a great running back too that they're able to hand the ball off to, and David Montgomery. So for fantasy purposes, Fields it does scare me just a little bit.
A little bit. One of the things I talked about the coach, but the offensive coordinator Luke Getsy was the QB coach in Green Bay the last 3 seasons, and someone won MVP a couple of those seasons. But Joey, is it kind of like with Lance, the rushing upside with Fields is really, really tempting?
Yeah, I mean that's baking into him. I think somebody was saying, "Oh, I've never heard Konami code before," but I mean he's one of those guys. And as someone that spends a lot of time in fields and nature and whatnot, he's the one that I want to perform, the one that I want to see break out. Because I think, like I said, I think he's a better football player than Trey Lance. I just don't like what's around him. So I'm really hoping the Bears go out and get some support for him. I'm glad Nagy's gone. Like, let's see. Can Fields cook? That's not an expression.
How long were you sitting on that field joke about being out in the field? So, like, did you
I literally thought of it while you were talking.
Okay.
So.
I wasn't sure if something you thought about earlier this afternoon.
No. If you've seen my stuff, I don't really put a lot of thought into my jokes. So.
Lance a lot.
Yeah. See, I didn't plan that. It just comes, But no, I really want to see Justin Fields succeed next year, and he's the one that I think has talent to do it. There just needs to be some more around him to help him do it.
I know it's one of those things like, and Jay, it's funny. I had this conversation with a Giants fan recently where
there's more than one.
It was 3 actually. But we were talking about kind of like how people just have this love for the 85 Bears, and talking about them like they're the greatest defense. And then I feel like they're ignoring the 86 Giants, which I feel like is probably equally as good on the all-time great defense. But I think it was just because they kept winning other years, and the Bears were just kind of like a flash in the pan that one year, and just had great personalities.
Right. Yeah. It was that one, people don't realize who never saw Lawrence Taylor play, how he changed the game of football. And yeah, I'm with it. My dad I was born November of '86, and my dad went to that Super Bowl. It was at the Rose Bowl. A couple months later, I've got a keychain. They used to give really nice stuff at the Super Bowl. This gold-plated keychain of his ticket. I told him, I said, it's going to be a long time, but when you pass, that keychain's coming to me. Like that's mine.
That's amazing. I mean, I want good things for Chicago fans. I mean, the Cubs are going to suck this year. The White Sox, who knows how they're going to be. The Bulls haven't been good in 25 years since Jordan left. So, I want them to have a quarter. And you look at their all-time great quarterbacks, and it's just, it's like. Yeah. It's like a Mexican food cookbook from Arkansas. So sorry.
I mean,
Arkansas.
when they sign Andy Dalton and people say, is that the best quarterback that Allen Robinson's ever played with? Like one of the best quarterbacks in Bears history. That says a lot.
Oh man, yes, we're silly geese. But yeah, so we got 2 more guys to talk about. Mac Jones. I think he was kind of like that, the poster child of the guy. He goes to a stable organization with a great offensive minded coach and a good defense. Great. I mean, it was like all the supporting cast around him, and you got just what you could have wanted. I mean, he didn't put up a Justin Herbert type of season, QB 18, just a really solid season. So, Joey, considering the fact that you inherited Tom Brady from New England,
it's a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, seeing Mac Jones succeed. What can we look at for him to maybe even take a little bit more of a step forward? He was QB 18 last year. Could he, kind of get to the back, top half of the QB2 range?
Yeah, I don't see him getting there. Maybe for me, it's just not exciting. He's going to give you, it seems like almost like not mediocre numbers, but just decent numbers, but numbers that probably won't win you a fantasy championship. I don't think did anybody win a fantasy championship with Mac Jones last year on their team? I would be shocked if they did.
I had him on my bench, so
okay. Well,
and almost started him the week.
He got a ring then, so that counts.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, did you win that Did you win that team?
Yeah, I started Taysom Hill instead of Mac Jones in the
See?
finals. So
that says it all.
everybody, thank you, Debo Samuel, for being a stud. So
New England for me, it always does seem run first with them now that Brady's gone. And with Damian Harris, I think he's gonna have a great year. And the Rhino, it might be just 1-2 punch with them. And Mac Jones, I don't want to call him a system quarterback because that's not kind to him. But we talked about bad receiving cores with Jacksonville. I mean, New England's probably a lot worse than that. So I'm not excited to have Mac Jones on my team. I would take Wilson before Mac Jones, to be honest.
Yeah, I would. Jay, have you heard rumblings that Joe Judge might be calling plays for the Patriots?
I have heard that, and if that's the case, I'm sorry for Mac Jones because I'll say this: I don't think Joe Judge got a fair shake having Dave Gettleman as his GM. I do think he's an okay coach. I'm glad we got rid of him. I'm glad we're going down the route. I'm finally excited for Giants football since the first time, probably since the boat picture. That's the last time I was excited for Giants football, other than right now. So I agree with what Joey said. I was thinking before we came on the show, who you could really compare Mac Jones to, like from past years of fantasy football. And for me, it's not because I'm a Giants fan, but like a Eli Manning or like a Joe Flacco, that at their best, you're looking at a high-end QB2. Like you're not going to see Mac Jones. He doesn't have the ceiling of these other guys, especially in the league. You're looking for quarterbacks that can run. The only thing he's going to run is to the fridge to get some buttered noodles out. Other than that, he's not going to do much. And I will say I have a soft spot in my heart for Mac Jones because the game against Buffalo, I was going up against him in my home league, which Ryan Crawford is a part of. And I was up by 4 points going into Monday night. And the guy I was playing against had Mac Jones and Jacoby Myers. And I won because he threw 3 passes.
Yeah.
And I made the playoffs by 1 game and won the championship. So thank you, Mac Jones, for throwing 3 passes in that game because that helped me win a championship.
Oh man, that game is going to be talked about as legend because it wouldn't have been the same if
there the whole game, like, please, because I knew the weather was bad. I was like, just don't throw passes, don't throw. And it's like, they're not throwing passes. How is this possible? I will never forget that.
Oh man,
that's the belt right there. It's the championship belt. I can
look at that.
Yeah,
look at that.
That's the championship right there. So
beautiful.
Pull that back.
Beautiful. Yep. Ryan, there we go. Yeah, it's. I just wish I would have loved to have seen. When you see a Tyreek Hill land in Miami, you see a Devontae Adams land in Vegas, and maybe they draft somebody, but they don't have the best record with drafting first round wide receivers.
I got a sneaky name for you. I could see OBJ winding up there. I could see that. Seems like a Bill Belichick type of move.
That would be. I mean, it might be for the second half of the season because because when he got hurt, it would be kind of tough. So, actually, Edwin Boras mentioned that because it was a re-injury, there was so much work already done to the knee that it might actually be a smoother transition. Plus, it's also coming back from the injury. So, yeah. So everybody, watch that show. It's really good. It's on our library.
He knows his stuff too, man. He's one of the best in the community when it comes to the injury analysis.
Oh man, just it's no wonder that the Minnesota Twins snatched him up to help their minor leagues. But let's close up shop with down in Houston. Davis Mills. She flashed a little bit. Best game was Week 18, throw for 300 yards against a Tennessee team that was trying. So 3 touchdowns. They've got a lot of draft picks. To me, the hidden thing is, yes, they got a new coach in Lovie Smith, but they kept Pep Hamilton to become the offensive coordinator. He was the quarterback coach who also mentored Justin Herbert in his rookie season. So getting out of that Deshaun Watson shadow, Jay, it's a sense of optimism for Houston that they might actually still have their guy and they could build around him.
Optimism is a strong word here for Davis Mills. I don't mind him. I do think that they've got so many holes in this team, kind of like my Giants. They're going to they don't need to invest in a quarterback because they're not going to be ready to be a contender within that. These teams that we see with Patrick Mahomes this year, the time to win is when you have a quarterback on a rookie contract. And even if they draft somebody right now, that's not going to happen. So I think they are going to stick with him at least for this year, potentially next year, unless he falls completely flat on his face. I think he could be serviceable for fantasy. We've seen all the time. You won't hear me say Davis Mills season. I think Davis Mills serviceable season. I think in the right matchups, he can put up some solid numbers as long as he's as Brandon Cooks, who is perennially one of the most underrated wide receivers in the entire league. I think he could be fine for fantasy. Now, as an NFL quarterback, that's a different story. But I do think they're at least going to give him this year as they build up the team. Hopefully they build the team in the trenches. That's where you start. I think he can be fine for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, probably is the second quarterback in a super flex. Definitely dynasty. I grabbed him in one of my dynasty teams and traded for him when he wasn't starting, and just said, "Yeah, what the hell?" He was throwing in, and it's like, "All right, let's go."
Yeah.
Joey, for you, he's got Brandon Cooks. Could show up some weeks, but again, anything more than a second QB and maybe the occasional DFS starter.
Yeah, I think you'll be happy with what you get from Mills because you're not expecting much from him. So you'll just be like, thank you very much for giving me those 17 points. That was great in my super flex spot, on a bye week. And that's the kind of player he's going to be for you. I was really excited for Brevin Jordan coming into this year, tight end for Houston. And I think that's someone Mills could lean on. I don't know, honestly, how long Brandon Cooks is going to be in Houston. I just keep waiting for his name to get traded.
Yeah,
because Houston's... Yeah, listen, anywhere Cooks goes at this point.
Replace
you got excited.
Yeah,
I mean, or Green Bay, or just, Houston's not going to win the Super Bowl this year. They're not even going to compete. So, Cooks might not be there long, but as long as he is, he's definitely a good option for Mills. Like you said, and he's the kind of player, like when he's dirt cheap on FanDuel or in DraftKings, plug him in if you're doing a super flex lineup. So that's about all I'm expecting from him.
I think so. It's maybe there's some growth. I don't see him jumping more anything than kind of QB2 range, being one of those guys, probably like 12 to 20 thereabouts. And it's hard because there are some really good quarterbacks, and especially if some of the guys on the list ahead of these guys, ahead of him, kind of take that step forward, as we were talking about with Lance and Fields and Lawrence. I think they have a higher ceiling than Davis Mills. Even Zach Wilson has Elijah Moore, who if the Texans do trade Brandon Cooks, by the way, if you heard it here first, so it could go to KC. So, oh man, mis amigos. Wait a second. So,
Nico Collins too. He is not a bad wide receiver. He could definitely have a good second season. So,
yeah, they got underrated weapons in Houston.
Like. Trade Nico Collins to Green Bay or Kansas City. Sorry, Davis Mills.
Oh, they're just gonna keep trading for picks and picks and picks, and he's gonna he's gonna end up with Kiki Kuti 2.0 or something like that. Those guys to throw to. Oh man, mis amigos. I know we said we were gonna go about an hour, so
we're good.
A little bit. You got a couple minutes to talk some Mexican food in your place, in your neck of the woods?
Sure.
Oh man, who wants to lead off?
I will, because I'm going to disappoint you with what I have to say. Because I live in the land of chain restaurants, and we don't really have any good Mexican food. I hate to say it. Like, I think our best Mexican restaurant is probably Chuy's, which is like a chain at this point, I believe. Do you guys have Chuy's anywhere?
Never out
Chuy's. I didn't see. I thought Chuy's was great, and then I went to Texas, and I had Mexican food in San Antonio, and I was like, oh, so what I've been eating is dog poop. So I have no good Mexican food to bring to the table.
Well,
So
I will redeem the story
Thank you.
because where I live in North Carolina, I'm right outside of Raleigh. We do have a pretty prevalent Mexican population, and we have some absolutely amazing Mexican food. Actually, one of the newest restaurants. Yep, that's what I was talking about. Just recently, Ryan, if you remember, posted in here, was named in some fancy schmancy website magazine one of the top 10 new restaurants in the entire country. And it wasn't just Mexican restaurants; it was top 10 restaurants in the country.
Wow.
So I mean, we get some real deal authentic Mexican in North Carolina of all places. We've got a couple of really good ones. I like just like the street tacos with the corn tortillas with some steak. Throw some jalapenos in there, raw onions, a little cilantro, squirt a lime on top, call it a day.
Oh man. And Joy, when you had when in San Antonio, what blew you away?
I had the chimichanga, and it was covered in queso, and the refried beans were just like refried, and I don't know what they were refried in.
The refried beans are refried. That's
yeah.
we need to clip that and put that on.
Yeah, it was delicious. And like the thing being Orlando, like I say we're the land of chain restaurants, but we do have some good stuff down by Disney. Some of like the top chefs in the country come in, and I spaced on it, but my wife and I did eat at a place at Disney Springs. I forget the name of it, but it was really delicious. And it was a Mexican place. It's the only one they have. So, hey, look it up. If any of us on the show are going to be at Disney Springs next week by chance, there's a Mexican restaurant there that's really good.
Oh, well,
I'm lucky enough. Speaking of that, I'm going to Disney with my family next week. So I will get to break bread with Joey and hopefully some other people that are in the area. So get to do it in person versus over streaming.
Well, yeah, I'm actually, Jay and I are going to go out to a sports bar, and I told Jay that I'll give him a ride from his hotel, but he has to sit in my daughter's car seat, and I get to strap him in. So it's going to be a fun time.
I need a picture
of that. Make it onto Twitter.
Pictures or no? It didn't happen. So,
no, happen.
My goodness,
I will get him in that car seat.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see that. Oh, brothers. Well, and I'm hoping, I'm waiting to get some news on when my daughter gets reports to college in the fall, so I could hopefully break bread with you guys at the.
That's what I was going to ask you. Are you planning on making it out to the expo?
I got a little money set aside for it, so now I'm just gonna be like, all right, let's. I'm just waiting to find out when she's got to go in. So it's not moving because that's like right around moving date where everybody comes in. So
hope we get to do it. That'll be amazing.
Mis amigos, let's close up shop. This was awesome. The thieves come through again. So thank you again. So Joey, Jay. I started with Joey last time. Jay, tell everybody where they can find you, and vámonos.
You can find me on Twitter at GmanJ. Just like Joey, I'm a part of the team over at Front Yard Fantasy. We've got a lot of fun stuff going on there. We basically like to mix fantasy football with craziness, goofiness, have fun, good advice. Follow us on YouTube subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/frontyardfantasy.
Oh man, and they always they have too much fun to make it look like it's working. So
and we had a bunch of people from the chat. Thank you everybody from the FYF chat that jumped in here. It means the world.
Group. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
So much. Goodness, this was awesome. Dame, Ryan, Mr. Scampers. Oh my goodness. I mean, just everybody. Anthony, Antonio, Albert. Oh, muchas gracias everybody. And Joey, Jose, mi amigo Jose.
My grandfather calls me Jose, actually. On Twitter at the Joey Wright. I am with Front Yard Fantasy exclusively now. I think this is the first time I'm saying it publicly. I'm just with Front Yard.
More breaking news on your show, Jorge.
Yeah. And you know what? It comes out. I think we're launching it tomorrow. We have a newsletter, and that's what I took charge of, and that's what we got coming out along with JL, and everyone at the team's going to be contributing to it. The Front Yard Fantasy newsletter. Really excited for that to kick off. What else do I do, Jay? Oh, I'm on a wrestling podcast to talk a lot about pro wrestling. I missed AEW because I really wanted to be on this tonight. And AEW was like my weekly. It's like, okay, push it all aside.
I know. Don't even try to talk to Joey on Wednesdays because he's watching AEW.
So this, I pushed that aside because I really wanted to do this tonight. Loving everything I'm doing for your fantasy. Another whole season of Start Sits and Salutations next year. If you've enjoyed that, thank you so much. I've gotten a lot of great feedback, and I really appreciate it.
And we may, Joey, do you want to kind of whisper about the show that you and I might kind of?
There's,
might be working.
Jay
on something.
is one of my best people I like to work with, and we like to talk about football. So, there might be a best ball show coming with Jay and I.
And we are about to get into best ball season.
I didn't sell that very well. I'll try that again.
That was you've done better. Let's be honest. I love you anyway, Joe. I love you too, Hurry. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. This was so much fun.
This was a blast. And it flew by. I can't believe we're an hour and 10. So everybody, muchas gracias. Thank you for joining us again. Please make sure to give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. And also when you go to fantasypoints.com, Familia 22, Familia 22, you get yourself a nice little discount. And also go to find me at Jorge Martin 17 on Twitter and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go to Familia FFB, and don't forget FamiliaFFB.com for original content. So I just dropped a 4,000 word article on all the free agents frenzy, the local times with the free agency. So let's keep at it. Hopefully we're done with the crazy stuff, but I'm going to be watching Twitter in the morning to find out. So, and Dame, yes, go Dodgers. Yes, it's baseball season. So
you got two baseball guys here too. I'm a Yankees fan. He's a Braves fan.
Dodgers stole my heart last week. Taking Freddie Freeman from
well, you knocked
the
us out
Braves should have locked him up.
You won the World Series. You won the World Series. So. And Jay, your Yankees beat my Dodgers a couple times in my youth, so to really tear my heart out. So it's all good. It's all good. We'll have to do a baseball podcast another time. So
would love to do that
after the season. So everybody, muchas gracias for joining us, and remember, todos somos familia. Salud.